I never thought the woman I married would be the one to destroy me. When I handed her the biggest deal of our lives, I had no idea she was planning to steal it from under my feet. That $22 million contract was supposed to save our company, our marriage, our future. Instead, she used it to kick me out of my own home and run off with the man who broke her heart years ago. But here's the thing about betrayal. Sometimes, the person you underestimate the most is the one holding all the cards. And when she finally saw whose signature was on that deal, the look on her face made everything worth it. Before we get into this wild story, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications because, trust me, you're going to want to see how this ends. The twist is something you won't see coming. Now, let's dive in. My name is Kofi, and I'm 38 years old. For the past 10 years, I've been building a commercial real estate development company here in Johannesburg. It wasn't easy. I started with nothing but a dream and a small loan from my father. But I worked hard, made smart decisions, and slowly built something I was proud of. My company was worth about $15 million, which sounds impressive until you realize how much debt we were carrying and how competitive this industry is. 8 years ago, I married Amara. God, she was beautiful. Still is, if I'm being honest. She had this confidence about her, this sharp intelligence that made everyone in the room pay attention when she spoke. She was a corporate lawyer when we met, one of the best in her firm. After we got married, she left that job to help me with the business. She became my partner in every sense of the word, or at least that's what I thought. Amara handled all our legal contracts, our negotiations, our client relationships. She was brilliant at it. People loved her. She had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. I trusted her completely. With my business, with my money, with my life. That was my first mistake. Things between us had been tense for about a year. Nothing dramatic, just the slow erosion that happens when two people stop really seeing each other. We argued more. We laughed less. She started making comments about how I didn't appreciate her contributions, how I took all the credit for our success. I brushed it off. I thought it was just stress. Business was tough, money was tight, and we were both working ourselves to exhaustion. Then, 3 months ago, everything changed. I received an email that made my heart race. A major investment firm wanted to partner with us on a massive waterfront development project. Luxury condominiums, commercial spaces, the works. The total value of the deal was $22 million. If we closed this, it would triple our company's worth overnight. We'd be set for life. The email came from a firm called Mbali Capital Investments. I'd heard of them. They were big players, serious money. The CEO wanted to meet in person to discuss the partnership. They gave me 3 weeks to prepare a proposal and presentation. It was tight, but it was doable. This was the opportunity I'd been waiting for my entire career. I threw myself into preparation. I worked day and night on that proposal, making sure every detail was perfect. Amara helped, of course. She reviewed all the legal documents, helped me refine the pitch. On the surface, we were a team again, but I could feel something off about her. She seemed distant, distracted. When I asked if everything was okay, she just smiled and said she was fine. 2 days before the meeting, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Fever, chills, body aches. I tried to push through it, told myself it was just stress. But by that evening, I could barely stand. Amara drove me to the hospital, and the doctor's diagnosis was clear: severe pneumonia. I needed to be admitted immediately, complete bed rest for at least 10 days. I was devastated. This meeting couldn't be rescheduled. The investment firm had made it clear. We had one shot, one date. If we missed it, the deal would go to one of our competitors. I lay in that hospital bed, connected to IV drips, feeling like I was watching my dreams slip away. That's when Amara made her suggestion. She could take the meeting. She knew the proposal inside and out. She'd been part of building it from day one. She was smart, capable, and, frankly, she might even do a better job than me. Our business partner, Tendai, wasn't sure about it, but I convinced him. Amara was my wife. I trusted her. From my hospital bed, I coached her through video calls. We went over every slide, every talking point, every possible question they might ask. She was nervous, but she was ready. The night before the meeting, she came to visit me. She kissed my forehead and promised she'd make me proud. I believed her. What I didn't know was that Amara had already looked up who ran Mbali Capital Investments. She'd seen the CEO's name, Jabari Morrison, and she knew exactly who he was. The morning of the meeting, Amara texted me a photo of herself in her red power suit, looking absolutely stunning. "Wish me luck," she wrote. I sent back a string of encouraging emojis and tried to relax. But something in my gut told me to stay alert. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was the fever. Either way, I kept my phone close. Amara walked into that glass tower downtown, took the elevator to the 40th floor, and was led into a massive conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She set up her presentation, smiled at the executives filing in, and waited for the CEO. When Jabari walked through that door, I can only imagine what went through her mind. Because Jabari Morrison wasn't just any CEO. He was her ex-fiancé, the man she was supposed to marry 12 years ago. The man who left her standing at the altar in front of 200 guests. The worst heartbreak of her life. Or so she'd told me 1,000 times. Amara later told me she nearly walked out. Her hands shook as she stood to greet him, but Jabari played it cool, extending his hand professionally. "Ms. Amara Carter," he said, using her married name. What an unexpected pleasure. She shook his hand and forced herself to sit down. The presentation began. According to Tendai, who heard it from one of the executives later, Amara delivered our pitch flawlessly. She answered every question with precision and confidence. But there was an energy in that room, a tension that everyone could feel. During the break, Jabari followed Amara into the hallway. They talked. She confronted him about the past, demanded to know why he was really entertaining this deal. That's when Jabari told her his truth. He said he didn't leave her by choice. His father, who ran the family business back then, had given him an ultimatum: marry into an influential family that would benefit their business, or lose everything. Jabari was young and stupid. He chose the money and the family approval. But the marriage fell apart within 2 years. He'd regretted losing Amara ever since. When he saw my name on the proposal, he recognized Amara's married name. He could have assigned the meeting to someone else, but he didn't. He wanted to see her again. Not to rekindle anything, he claimed, but to apologize properly. To show her that he'd thought about her all these years. I don't know if Amara believed him entirely, but something shifted in her during that conversation. Maybe it was old feelings resurfacing. Maybe it was the realization that the man who broke her was now wealthy and powerful and standing right in front of her, offering her everything. Whatever it was, when they returned to that conference room, Amara didn't just close the deal. She made a different deal altogether. Jabari approved the partnership on the spot. $22 million. But there was a catch. He wanted Amara to be the primary partner on the project. Not me. Not our company. Her. He said he trusted her vision, her execution, her leadership. The contracts would be drawn up in her name. Amara could have said no. She could have insisted it be in both our names, or in the company's name. But she didn't. She smiled, shook his hand, and agreed. She came to the hospital that evening, and I could tell immediately something was different. She was glowing, energized in a way I hadn't seen in years. She told me the deal was approved. She told me we were about to be rich. But she didn't tell me about the contracts being in her name. She didn't mention Jabari being her ex. She just kissed me and said she needed to go home and rest. Over the next week, while I was still recovering in the hospital, Amara was busy. She met with Jabari multiple times to finalize details. She hired her own lawyer, separate from our company's legal team. She moved money around in ways I didn't understand yet. When I finally came home from the hospital, weak but recovering, I found our house unusually quiet. Amara was sitting in the living room with a glass of wine, and there were 2 suitcases by the door. My suitcases. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice still raspy from the pneumonia. She looked at me with eyes that had gone cold. "Kofi, I think it's time we were honest with each other. This marriage hasn't been working for a long time. You know it, and I know it." My heart started pounding. "What are you talking about? Amara, what's happening?" She stood up, straightening her shoulders. "The deal with Mbali Capital? It's mine. The contracts are in my name. The partnership is mine. And I've decided that I'm done carrying you. I'm done being in your shadow while you take credit for my work." I couldn't breathe. "Our work. Our company. What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm taking what's mine. I've already had my lawyer draw up divorce papers. You'll get a fair settlement, don't worry. But the business, the deal, the future, that's mine now. I've packed your things. I need you to leave." I stood there, stunned, trying to process what was happening. "Is there someone else?" She hesitated, just for a second. "That's not relevant. What's relevant is that I deserve better than this. Better than you." It was Jabari. I knew it instantly. The way she said it, the timing, everything clicked into place. "It's the CEO, isn't it? Jabari Morrison?" Her face confirmed it before her words did. "He understands me in ways you never did. He sees my value. And yes, we're planning to work together. Closely." I wanted to scream, to fight, to beg, but I was still weak from being sick, and honestly, I was in shock. I picked up my suitcases and walked out of my own home, the home I'd bought with money I'd earned, feeling like my entire world had collapsed. I stayed with Tendai for a few days, barely eating, barely sleeping. He was furious on my behalf, wanted to get lawyers involved immediately, but I told him to wait. Something didn't add up. Amara was smart, but she wasn't a fool. And the way this all happened, so quickly, so smoothly, it felt almost too easy. I made some calls. I reached out to contacts I had at Mbali Capital, people who owed me favors. I asked questions, and slowly, pieces of a different puzzle started forming. Meanwhile, Amara and Jabari were moving forward with their plans. She moved into a luxury apartment that Jabari set her up in. They were seen together at high-end restaurants, business events, looking every bit like the power couple. Photos showed up on social media. She looked happy. Radiant, even. The contract signing was scheduled for exactly 3 weeks after she kicked me out. It was going to be a big event, with press coverage and everything. The official launch of the Mbali Carter Development Partnership. She'd even changed the company name, dropping my name entirely and adding hers to Jabari's firm. On the day of the signing, Amara wore a gorgeous yellow dress and her best jewelry. Jabari had arranged for the ceremony to take place in a beautiful venue with panoramic city views. Photographers were there, business journalists, important people from the industry. This was her moment of triumph. She sat at the polished table, smiled for the cameras, and reached for the pen to sign the final documents. Jabari sat beside her, looking proud. Everything was perfect. The lawyers slid the contract in front of her. She glanced at it, ready to sign, when something caught her eye. She froze. Her smile faded. She flipped back to the signature page, her hands suddenly shaking. There, in clear black letters, was a name she didn't expect to see. Kofi Mensah. My name, listed as the primary partner and CEO of the development project. "What is this?" she asked, her voice tight. "There's a mistake. This should be my name." Jabari leaned back in his chair, and for the first time I saw him smile. Not the charming smile he'd been giving her. A different smile, colder. "There's no mistake, Amara," he said quietly. She looked at him, confusion and panic rising in her eyes. "What are you talking about? We agreed. The partnership is mine. You said—" "I said a lot of things," Jabari interrupted. "And you believed them because you wanted to. But the truth is, this deal was always with Kofi. He's the one with the vision, the track record, the reputation. You were just the messenger." Amara's face went white. "You're lying. You told me you wanted to work with me. You said you regretted losing me." "I do regret it," Jabari said, his voice almost gentle. "I regret that you turned into someone so willing to betray the person who trusted you most. The Amara I knew 12 years ago would never have done what you just did." That's when I walked into the room. I'd been waiting outside, watching through the glass. Tendai was with me, along with our actual lawyer. Amara's eyes went wide when she saw me. "Kofi," she whispered. "What are you doing here?" I walked up to the table and sat down across from her. "I'm here to sign my contract, Amara. The one I've been negotiating for the past 3 months." "I don't understand," she said, looking between Jabari and me. "You two?" Jabari nodded. "Kofi came to me 6 weeks ago. He told me he suspected you might try something like this. He asked if I'd be willing to help him find out the truth about who you really were." I picked up the story. I had to know, Amara. I had to know if the woman I married would really betray me the moment she had the chance. So, yes, I set this up. I knew Jabari was your ex. I found that out during my research on Mbali Capital. And I contacted him directly. I told him my situation, my suspicions. He agreed to help. Amara's hands were shaking now. "This was all a test? Everything?" "Everything," Jabari confirmed. "The attraction, the promises, the apartment. All of it was designed to see what you would do. And you chose betrayal every single time." She turned to me, tears starting to form. "Kofi, please, I made a mistake. I was confused. He reminded me of a time when I felt valued, and I just—" "You threw away our marriage for money and revenge," I said, my voice steady. "You kicked me out of my own home. You tried to steal my company. You humiliated me. All because you saw an opportunity and took it." "But the deal," she said desperately. "The contract. It says your name. Does that mean—" I nodded. "It means the $22 million partnership is real. It's just not yours. It never was. The real contracts were being negotiated between Jabari and me this whole time. You were signing fake documents, Amara. Nothing you agreed to was legally binding." She stood up abruptly, knocking her chair backward. The room had gone completely silent. Everyone was watching this unfold. "You can't do this to me," she said, her voice breaking. "I just did," I replied. "And the divorce papers you had your lawyer serve me?" My lawyer found several irregularities. Turns out, you can't just steal someone's assets and kick them out of their own home. That house? Still mine. The company? Still mine. The life we built? You don't get to take it just because you decided you deserved it more. Jabari stood as well. "Amara, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is a private business meeting now." She looked at him with such betrayal in her eyes. "You lied to me. You used me." "I showed you who you really are," he corrected. "And I helped a good man protect himself from someone who would have destroyed him. I consider that justice, not lies." Security was called. Amara was escorted out, crying and screaming about how this wasn't fair, how we'd tricked her, how she'd get her lawyers involved. But we all knew there was nothing she could do. She'd shown her hand, and we'd called her bluff. After she was gone, Jabari and I signed the real contracts, $22 million, a genuine partnership built on mutual respect and shared vision. We shook hands, and he clapped me on the shoulder. "I'm sorry you had to go through this," he said. "No one deserves to be betrayed like that." "Thank you for helping me see the truth," I replied. "I needed to know." "What will you do now?" he asked. I smiled. "I'll rebuild. Without her. And I'll be just fine." The development project is ahead of schedule. My company has never been stronger. I finalized the divorce, and Amara walked away with far less than she'd hoped for. She tried to spin a story on social media about being the victim, but too many people knew the truth. Last week, I received a package at my office. Inside was a handwritten note from Jabari. It said, "Sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most important truths. You deserved a partner who matched your integrity. I hope you find her someday." I put the note in my desk drawer and got back to work. Because here's what I learned from all of this. Trust is earned, not given. Love without honesty is just a pretty lie. And sometimes, the person you think you know best is the one you don't know at all. Amara taught me that the hard way, but she also taught me something else. I'm stronger than I thought. I survived betrayal. I outsmarted deception. And I came out on the other side with my dignity, my business, and my future intact. That's worth more than any amount of money. And that look on her face when she saw my name on that contract? That moment when she realized she'd lost everything? I'll remember that forever. Not because I'm cruel, but because it was the moment I finally saw clearly. The moment I knew I'd made the right choice. The moment I knew I was free. So that's my story. The day my wife tried to steal my $22 million deal and ended up with nothing. What would you have done in my position? Would you have set up the test? Or would you have just let her go? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story kept you hooked, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear that sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we need to watch most carefully. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.